last week I lost a tree due to the hurricane.
Call to order the Vermilion County Council meeting for July 2024. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Is that microphone on?
All right. Roll call. Mr. Costello.
Here.
Mr. Somerville.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Ms. James at present. Mr. Weir.
Here.
Mr. Bose.
Here.
And Mr. Brown.
Here.
All right. Our first item this evening is the approval of minutes for our June 18th meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, or comments to those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Somerville, a second for Mr. Brown to approve the council minutes from, what do I have, June 18th?
Yep.
All those in favor? June 10th, sorry. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Minutes are approved. All right, next we have our treasurer's report. We have the report and the interest report. Any questions regarding those?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Next we have the comp time report. It is done quarterly now. It's in there for your review. Any questions, concerns with that?
What's the blank line item that doesn't have a name that says paid out? Who was that? Or what was that? What does that mean? It's on the front page, probably fifth one down,
Yeah.
fifth name. There's an hourly rate there, but no
That
name.
would be in Hope.
Huh?
Oh,
That would have been Hope.
That would have been
probably.
Hope, yeah.
there's no one in that position currently.
She's gone, so that position is gone. So she got paid out for comp time when she left.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was necessary to leave the name on there, just
It's
so.
not.
I have a question. If it says exempt, that means a person doesn't get overtime, or there's, what, are they salaried, or I don't?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. We will move along to the transfer of funds. We have a few tonight, but they are all reporting only. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 of them. The first one was from the jail, one from the commissioners, one from the auditor, and the surveyor, and the highway department.
I was curious.
Mhm.
Did they use $1,600 or $800 worth of water?
That is for cost of water for July and possibly August.
Their water bills out the jail are ranging from $2,500 to $3,800.
25 to 30.
But it's water and sewer.
Water
Just
and
use that much
sewage.
there?
How can we fix that?
That seems like a lot of water.
Water and
Has that been a large increase since last year?
yes.
Yes. Is it the rate increase or the usage increase? Do you know?
I didn't look that into depth into it.
Okay.
I just, they only had 3,000 left, so,
Transferred money over.
yeah, I'm trying to get through July and hopefully August. So
Okay.
we haven't gotten to June bill yet, so I'm not ready.
Again, these are reporting only, so these don't require approval. And if there are questions, we can get them answered.
Second.
Any other questions?
No questions, but I think they'll look into putting a well at the jail themselves.
It's a lot of water.
I mean, it's crazy.
Right by that underground river.
So, which entity do we pay as far as the water sewage bill? Okay.
Additional appropriations.
Who else are they customers have, like the companies that are located at the rise? Do they have the same water and sewer rates as what the jail would, or?
Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we're surely not the only customer, so just curious if the rates are the same.
We'll find some answers. Okay, on to the additional appropriations. We have a couple this evening. The first one is for an additional appropriation from the Parks Board Department. They're asking an additional from their park donation fund of $2,200 to pay for the monuments purchased for past park board members who have passed away. They provided us some documentation in there showing what they are wishing to do with that money.
So are they getting two? At present, they want two now, and then as maybe they need more later? I see.
Have they done this in the past?
Yes,
Okay. We're standard then.
and it's the donation fund, so they cannot keep this money out of the general fund, it has to be out of the donation fund.
Okay.
It's not a budgeted
Yeah. See,
fund, so they have to have it.
this isn't a fund we typically use a whole lot. It's just when they need money out of it that they've received.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Brown and a second from Mr. Bose. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Additional appropriation is approved. All right, our next additional appropriation this evening is from the Commissioners, and then they're asking for an additional appropriation from the Improvement Fund. Again, this is where we put the ARPA money for $49,475. This is to award their money for their mini grants to 3 of the programs that they had applied. This was discussed at a meeting before, and we had agreed to give them $50,000 to give towards projects in the community. They have voted and decided upon the following 3 projects. Vermillion County Disc Golf for $14,150, the Town of Dana for $15,000, and Eugene Township with their community center of $20,325.
Where's the golf going? Cuba?
Yeah. And the Town of Dana is using it for a ballpark path, like a walking path around their ball diamonds. And each of the applications for the requested projects are behind your sheet as well.
I will say the park programs, I mean, they really are nice, what they've been doing.
Yes.
And I know the disc golf has a lot of activity,
Which is great.
so,
Where would they put it? Cuba.
well, they have it at the park.
Yeah, it does say expansion, so I assume it's on.
Yeah, well, they only have, I think, 9 holes, and then what they do, the 18 or whatever. So, if you were there at the park, there's, I think, a couple in the grandstand area, and then they're scattered throughout the rest of the area, the other 7, so to speak. I know at one time there was like 30 people playing.
It's gotten popular.
Yeah. So I know the goal is to make it an 18-hole golf course or disc golf course, whatever they call it. And I know the trustee there at Eugene Townships, he's got plans, I think that's for playground equipment.
I believe the grant said they applied for another grant for playground equipment, but this is also the building. Is that correct, Britton? That they're doing the building up there and the playground equipment? The Eugene Township.
Eugene Township.
They are remodeling.
When I was
the
going
building.
through the grant application, it listed several things. Multi-use. The commissioners have approved these three as their picks, and so we had never appropriated the money. They are now just coming back since they have approved these three as their selections.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Somerville, a second from Mr. Brown, to approve the $49,475 from the improvement fund for the mini grants. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Okay, the appropriation is approved.
Does Clinton have one of these? Well,
We've
Frisbee
got them
golf?
at sport, yeah.
They
And
do?
that, the south of the regular,
Okay,
by the dog park area.
good.
Tarrant's got a nice one. Their Deming Park.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people play it, tournaments and stuff.
Our last additional appropriation tonight is from the commissioners. They're asking for $600,000 from the improvement fund, and the explanation says ambulance facilities. And I believe Commissioner Luther is here this evening. Mark's going to speak? Okay.
The ambulance committee met 2 weeks ago. You have two members on this board. They can speak to what was said there. This money would be used to build 2 ambulance buildings. I think we're getting the price down into a reasonable range. There was a person at that meeting who discussed grants, but those grants were 2 years out, year and a half.
3.
Construction.
For the second one.
Yeah.
Construction could only possibly begin in 26, like spring of 26,
If we're lucky.
if everything goes right.
So this money would be used to build the first building up there at North Vermillion on the property. Using local contractors as best we can, I think it was what we came out with, and some pre-constructed buildings if we can make them work. I think we could probably at least get the one done for 600 and have some change left over. Well, quite a bit of change.
One building for
No.
$600,000?
Well, one building with change left over, which could be 200,000 or 300,000. But we don't know what that is yet until we end up getting quotes from people.
We're not gonna approve it until we know what it is, in my opinion.
Don't approve it.
I
I'm not
want to
gonna
see a
sit and argue
number.
with you.
I'm tired of voting yes on stuff, and then we find out what it costs later.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you what my side of this is.
I ain't blaming you, I'm just saying, tired of it.
Is it on
You
the,
got 2 people here on your board, they're a part of the committee, let them talk.
But it sounds like the committee is working towards finding cost and things for us, correct?
Yes.
So,
is it on the side road or on the 63 or off?
It's on the road, it would be a little to the east of the bridge that goes under there, is that
Good,
600
good.
north?
600 north.
Right across the street from there were just 2 houses built, for Walker Farms.
Okay, yeah.
They're like a prefab type building.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Not
talking about.
aesthetically pleasing at
Perfect.
all, but
Right.
I don't think there would be a lot more to
No, I
add
think
to
that's
those
great.
to get what
That's
we
a
need.
good spot because you can get around the train. Yep, that's a great spot.
is there an immediate need for this, any of this, before your next ambulance committee meeting or before anything to the commissioners?
Right now, well, Rick, you want me to speak, or I'll just say what I know, then you can say what you
Yeah.
know. When we had the meeting, it was the Commissioner Yocum, Commissioner Luther, and I think RJ Donovan was there. Yes. Oh,
No,
no. Wasn't?
RJ was not able to attend.
Okay, that's right.
Julie Lansdowne
Yes.
was there,
I'm thinking of,
Scott Peebles was there.
yeah, okay, well, I misspoke. RJ wasn't there, but there were quite a few people there. Plus the committee, most of the committee anyway. And I believe we had the architecture firm on the phone, which was on a conference call with him, or I say him, but it was the company representing, and I think Tim Yoakum had to leave, go to work. He said as much as he could, and I believe Commissioner Luther, you had to leave also before, you didn't?
Right.
Okay. So the committee met, and I think we had some sketches of floor plans to try to reduce cost. I think, well, a couple things. One, the scope of the buildings originally, I think even at that meeting, I thought would be identical. And as it turns out, I've talked to Park County a little bit more about the ambulance station needs, because I don't really know what they're thinking for the future. And as it turns out, the building at the south location would be slightly different in the sense that it would need a third bedroom, because they frequently have student paramedics from, I believe, the colleges that ride with the paramedics they have to do class time in the
They
truck.
actually have one right now, right?
Yeah. So that person needs housing, and it's frequent. It's an ongoing thing. The other issue was
Still got
training,
some training.
because they do there are the paramedics and the EMTs that they employ have continuous education. It's year round, and they also have new hires that get trained. So there needs to be at least one of the facilities needs to have a classroom or some kind of a room to do that, because if they have to rent space or borrow space, they don't control the times, it starts costing money. They already spend about, I think, $10,000 to $11,000 a year just on the training materials and the classroom instructors pay. So to have to go out and rent space, eventually that room would pay for itself.
And that's used to train the public too, put on CPR classes, things like that.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just
volunteer firefighters can go there and
Right.
get EMT training. It's not just their employees. It's currently they use wherever they can get a hold of. If it's a high school or.
Well, with the proximity to these two high schools, that there could be an agreement there. After hours, the classrooms not used that much at the high schools.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, just not. I mean,
It's not,
but it might not be after hours.
It's a 17. The room came out
It's
to be
not
like
that-
17 by 20. I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't
it's
like
small.
it wasn't a big room of any sort. It was enough for 6 folding tables or something like that, to where you could have something like that in it. But that was their request. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what we're building. I'm saying that's what they had asked for that. And then also, the administrator plans on spending half the amount of time at work at the Clinton, or not the Clinton, but wherever it's at, Vermillion County.
she's
So
not stationary. She travels.
The Vermillion County.
She observes.
So it was like a 10 by 12 office room for the administrator, because that's exactly the same size office. Because you're talking about having to, if you hire people, you got to do interviews. And these are things I didn't think of. If you're going to do interviews, you're going to do employee evaluations, you got to have an office that's secure to keep files in and stuff. So that was their request. An extra bedroom, an office, which are equally the 10 by 12 and a 10 by 12, and then a 20 by 17 classroom on that station. So the footprint on that one was slightly different.
Yeah, it was about 1,200 square feet more, 1,000 square feet
Yeah,
more.
the other end of it was at the end of the building over, and it was laid out almost identically to the other station, so a person who transferred to one to the other wouldn't be confused where the rooms are or anything like that. Not a big deal as far as that goes. But anyway, so I think we had a floor plan that we discussed based off of, well, it was a drawing that you had created, but like the rooms were made smaller, like the bedroom sizes were shrank down smaller. And right now, currently, I don't have a finished floor plan. I believe Jeff, your brother, is working on that,
Mhm.
which I think Friday last week or Thursday was when I got that. Because I visited the stations that are supporting the ambulances now and looked at those rooms and talked to the employees. And what, is this bedroom big enough? Is this kitchen big enough? And took measurements and tried to come up with some real numbers on what it really has to be.
Well,
And,
mine was also handicapped, which sounds like it's not necessary.
well,
Yeah, I think it is.
it is,
It
but
is still?
I spoke with a few folks that are knowledgeable of the matter on handicap accessibility, and that's not what's going to cost a lot. To do that it's money, obviously, but it's required, and it should be.
That would be the north one.
But
Okay.
to make it ADA accessible and comply with the law is not that expensive.
Exactly what I was hoping.
It's the size. The overall size of the building is what gets you, not whether there's handles or the sinks or certain heights, things like that. So, but I believe that it will be handicap accessible as needed for its intended purpose.
If it's a one-level building,
Yeah.
it's not too hard to do. as long as
So
you make your doors big enough
sidewalks,
to start.
entrances, accessibility to restrooms, doorways, power openers, there's some things like that that may have to be in place. I don't know until that's designed. But as far as a floor plan to say, this is what we need, now we need to go up with it and talk about height and all that kind of stuff. I don't have all that right now. I'm still waiting on the floor plan to at least present to the committee, and then the committee can work with the ambulance folks, I suppose, and fine tune that to make sure that when it goes into design, that there's no other questions at that point.
Once we have that, we give that to a builder, and they're gonna say, we're gonna build this for X amount.
Well, not necessarily. I think that, so it depends how the county does it. Now, if the commissioners decide to do like a design build and hire a company that can take the design
Oh.
and create everything they need to build the drawings and whatnot, that's one option, I suppose. The other option is the bidding process, which I guess a public bids to build a building.
Well, not a good option.
Huh?
That's not the right option.
I'm just saying it's possible.
We were talking about pre-existing building structures that would be modified for that Morton company, right, or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
So that was one option. Yes, what I just meant was that, so you have companies who can design it and build it, and then there's the old-fashioned way of doing it, just saying, we'll go out and hire XYZ company to create the drawings, then we do a public bid, we get bids, and then, the commissioners manage that. That's the other way, and then, other than that, I don't know of too many other options as far as you hire someone to build it, build it, or you bid it. I don't think you can just pick someone and say, you do it for us because of the cost. The attorney may know more about that. I think there's some cost involved in a public works project that once you exceed a certain threshold, it becomes a certain type of project, as we all know. But
So it sounds like good progress has been made. You guys are working towards it, but there's not an actual cost estimate so far. I mean, is it possible to come back and ask for it once you have a better idea of actual?
I want to see plans and numbers before
I
I
think-
approve anything personally.
well,
Definitely on board as fast as we can go, but knowing the price.
Right.
well, that won't come until, okay, so, I mean, if you hire a company that can design it, build it, at least what?
You don't have to hire anybody.
Somebody's got to
You
build
can
it.
go
What
to
do you
you can
mean?
go to one of these companies and just tell them what you want, give them an idea of
They
the
have
floor
their own-
plan. They'll do it all themselves.
That's what I'm talking about. They design it themselves. They design it and build it. They have engineers that work for them.
You might pay pennies for that, but they're going to do it for the building, for the job. They're not going to charge you a ton of money to come up with all that.
I
It's certainly going
didn't
to
say
be
they
$70,000,
would.
$80,000.
I'm not
can't
saying
take
they
it.
would. All I'm saying is there are people out there who, if you give them a floor plan, they will design the building and build it.
And bid it.
And then the other option is we have to hire an architect or someone to create the bid documents, the drawings and everything to give out to contractors. That's the only way I know how to do
I
it.
don't think you do.
Well,
I think they
part of the discussion too, to come back to applying for the grants, I mean, the way I looked at it, we would never be able to move into a building till 2028, the way I was kind of looking at it. And if we, my opinion ultimately was we do them both in concert with each other. We build one on our own and we apply for a grant. Right now, the grants are being awarded for about 500,000. It sounds like they're coming up to about 700,000 here.
750 for.
750, yeah, here in the near future. But it's going to take this, and it's going to take that, and it's going to take this other. You know, archaeological dig surveys. Even though Norfolk Vermilion's already had construction there, we would still have to do that.
There's about
And that-
$15,000 in fees that the county has to pay to apply.
Tons of outlays still if we do the grant process, which I think we need to
It
do both at the
involves-
same time.
Well, she said we would be higher on the priority list if we needed 2 buildings and we proactively got one going.
Yeah, if we
while
already
we're
got one
applying for the
going,
other.
the chances us
Now, the,
achieving this grant and getting accepted.
the earliest you can apply, well, realistically, was spring of 2025.
Right.
And you're looking at probably by the time everything's done.
Next year.
This is Okra. Okay, so
Think about
they
it.
will do the building grants. So you're looking at construction, putting shovels in the ground in the spring of '26 for that one. Now the other one could be on, if we're paying for the other one, you can start forthwith, as soon as we can.
So is the thinking, pay for the north building and then possibly apply for a grant for the south building?
And
the
there will
time-
be a
Same
match with
time.
that
Yeah,
building,
and
too.
hopefully we get $750,000
Doesn't match us.
grant match
Say again?
for that, and that one may be paid for, but we pay for the county pays for
But you can. all
the
work
first
with
one
the
there at North Vermillion out of our own
grant
pocket.
is part of your match.
And the chances look very favorable, in discussion anyway, that the second one, because how many applied this time? 4?
I don't
Something
know.
like that.
She gave us.
Two applied.
There
So
were-
not very many people are applying, and if the same thing holds true, the
Now,
chances of being awarded that grant are,
Was her fees
Significant.
payable out of the grant?
Yes,
Yes.
that's part of the grant.
Right.
And that was like 50,000.
yeah.
Up to a point, then it became more if there was a more award, like depending on the
The
amount.
key is, we need one.
Procedural.
Yeah, but I mean, she
Yeah.
was
She
also,
does good work every
and
time I've seen her do something.
the grant administrator that was at the meeting was clear that while it's good, it depends on what we want as far as timing goes. If we're in that big of a hurry, if the county has the funds to self-fund it, it would probably be more efficient and quicker, obviously, if you could do that. But it depends, again, her comment to me after the meeting was she doesn't think we have enough, we're not all on the same page.
No, that's it,
Obviously.
we're not the same page.
That's what her concern was.
That's what all of
So,
us still need
now,
to
if
do,
you
is
go
get
to
on
the
page.
grants, if we could go build one, we'll have to have plans. You can't apply for the grant with just a floor plan. I mean, we have to have some construction documents in hand, which would probably be modifications of the first one.
Right.
If we have those. I mean, so we do have to pay for that. And that can be, if it's additional, depending on how we do it.
The
and
cost
how-
of that becomes part of our match too, though. That falls
Right.
into the 20,
10%.
25% match.
It's like a 10%.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
So how long do we have to match? So if we build it and we don't get the grant the first year, we try to get the second year, is there a time frame when we spent that money, but we spent it too soon?
No,
Well, it
you
would be
can
the
keep
same-
reapplying like
Yeah.
twice a year, but like she said, if we do the first one with the grant, you're not getting the grant for the second one for 5 more years. You got to wait. So one way or the other, we're going to have to buy one
Right.
if you use a grant, or we'll have to buy 2. Your choice. It depends on how fast we want them, or how fast the commissioners want them, or the county residents, or whoever.
There is one other alternative though, and that's through the rural RDA, of which they provide loans, of which part of those loans are forgivable loans. Now, we've not gone through that scenario, but then with the RDA, outside making and touching base with them, and they're very, they're looking forward to the county doing something like that. But again, that's a loan, and then part of those loans become forgivable. And so even if we took a loan, doesn't mean we couldn't pay it off sometime shortly thereafter, after we take the forgiven portion of it as well.
What's the
So there's
basis for the forgiveness?
Hmm?
What's the basis for that? It's just all over.
It, We did, the last one I did was with Harrisburg. It was on a water sewer project, original sewer. And half of that was forgiven, and the other half went to the rate, for the rate study. So it's also takes a little bit of time to do it also. It's not 2 years, and it's not a 5-year program that you have to wait out either. But it does take about a year by the time you get that in place and everything negotiated, and then by the time that we bid that out. So all those things took time. So all the time was used that was available to it. But within a year, the loans were given. Part of them were forgiven. And again, I don't know the exact criteria of what they forgive and how they formulate that.
You said that
But
was with the rural RDA?
Yeah, it's a part of Homeland Security is through that program gets government monies. They're very, because of what's happened in the past and the monies that they've given, they're looking for places for money to go. And so they're very forthcoming as to wanting to work with people because there's just not that many projects coming forward fast enough for them to be able to spend the money. In fact, they haven't spent the money from the first go around 3 years ago. Not even all that's been spent yet. But anyway, that's just another alternative funding mechanism. What we do need though is that whether you agree to the $600,000 or not, there is seed money that if we're going to build anything in a timely manner anyway, or as soon within a year, we still have attorney fees, we still have property acquisitions, there's still investigations that need to go on with the property, so there are monies to be spent. If there's no monies in the budget, then we kind of stay hovering at where really the committee's at now. I mean, they can refine things, but even if you go to design build, there is a point in which you do sign papers with them that you are going to pay for their services if you don't go forward with it. So you just don't ask somebody to do these things and then say, well, never mind, or you go someplace else. There are charges to these things, and there's obligations and contracts that need to be signed. If the council wants, the problem is every month that the council goes by, we never know whether the council's going to do something or not do something. So at least seed money needs to be placed in there, be able to bring these things forward, unless we don't want to build these things for another year or 2 years or until everything is active in the work.
I don't think it's our intention to wait another year. However, I think, as mentioned, we would like a little bit more of a plan so we can narrow down the actual cost that we need to appropriate. I don't think it's necessarily a no, we're not going to do this, but can we get some more information first before we just appropriate money?
To go along with that, I mean, we need, everyone needs to know what building are we looking at, or what, you know, what is the building, and then 2, how much does it cost? Is there any way to determine both of those without spending a whole bunch of money or, you know, hiring people to tell us this is what we want, what's it going to cost,
Right.
and how can we do it? Steel, wood, how can we do this?
No
what are the
problem.
options?
Easy.
So someone has to be able to tell us that's a $500,000 building, or that's a, you know, there's way, I obviously know that we can hire, you know, we already have some buildings designed somewhat, and some estimates on what those will cost. I don't think we're looking at those at this point, but somehow, you know, the commissioners would have to know what to build, and then we have to know what it's going to cost, and then
Yeah, it
then
sounds
you
like the
start
ambulance
doing
committee,
it.
you guys are working on that process, so, I mean, I thank you for your time and coming up with this plan, but,
So, I mean,
If
the
you guys-
committee too is kind of more of an idea-driven thing that we don't, you know, we don't draw drawings
no,
per
but
se,
a
but
lot of
we.
brainstorming's been going on, and I mean, a lot of different things have already been brought up, so.
Well, I'm just gonna say, I mean, we, council, kind of stopped the process that the commissioners had started with purchasing the house. And, you know, and we're kind of on the committee, I guess 2 of us on the council. I believe that we need to give a recommendation, or at least give the ambulance committee and the commissioners some type of idea as far as what we want. I think we've kind of discussed that. And when we want it, which we're still, I haven't heard any commitment tonight when we want it. Do we want to build one now? Sounds like maybe we do, and work on the grant for the second one, and hopefully that grant pays for everything on the second one.
We could build both of them now. If the costs are reasonable, the county has the funds available to self-fund both of these immediately. I don't know, I mean, if someone disagrees with that, that's fine. But we do have the money to build these, and it is a need, and the taxpayers have paid the money and need the buildings. The grants are excellent. I have no issues with the grants. Do they work on our schedule, or do they work on the county's schedule when they're needed?
So the improvement fund is the ARPA money, so it's not collected from any local income tax or property tax. So if we stay within the realm of using the improvement fund, it actually won't affect taxpayers' tax money that they paid in.
So,
Depends on how you look
I'm
at
just
it.
throwing out for
It's
discussion.
federal tax
I
money,
mean,
it's not local.
if you think that inflation ain't because of all this wasted spending that this country's done in the
So-
last
But
3.5 years.
it's not the money that the Vermillion County collected.
I understand all that.
I just wanted
It's
to
still
clarify
costing
that,
us
though.
It's
dearly.
not free money.
So, I mean, as far as this appropriation, I'm just talking out loud. Can we, if we appropriate $600,000, can we break that appropriation down into a budget per se, not one lump sum? I think that's what we're asking for. Can we say that we'll give so much money, budget or appropriate so much money for the building, 300,000, so much money for attorney's fees? You know, we kind of break down what the appropriation is going to be, because we don't know. I mean, it's just going to take longer and longer and longer the more we drag this out. But can we, as a council, I would think we could appropriate that 600,000, break it down into
Once it's
subcategories.
appropriated, though, it could basically just be spent.
I'm not doing it. So I'm sorry, I'm not
But
doing
it
it.
could only be spent for certain things.
If you want to
we
talk about
appropriate-
one
You'd have to
building,
have
then let's
separate
talk about.
appropriations for each category, wouldn't you?
But I guess, how do you know how much to appropriate to attorney fees if we don't have any estimates or any idea of what's going to happen yet?
I
We
think,
do have estimates.
I was gonna say, I think we got ballpark figures.
I mean,
We
'cause-
don't have exact figures,
I
but we
mean,
got ballpark
there were
figures.
75 pages in this packet today, and I don't have a single estimate in it. So
No.
I don't know how to do that, I don't have any information to be like, yeah, let's put it here, here, and here, because we don't have any numbers. to do
And we're
as
talking about
council.
one building, why are we asking for money for two buildings on here? We've already said that we was gonna go $600,000 for two buildings. I thought we was pretty
I
clear
don't
about
think you can
that.
still build that for
No,
$600,000.
That was $600,000 with a matching fund.
No, it
Right.
wasn't, not what we discussed,
I
was
mean,
it?
it's basically an apartment for two people with a big garage on it.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I don't see how that should cost $400,000, $500,000.
If you give me a plan, I'll go get you a free estimate from a couple of different contractors, so you'll know exactly what you're spending, it won't cost you a penny.
I mean,
But with the
Just
amount
to
of
get
money
started.
involved, I don't think you can just select one. I mean, wouldn't it
I'm not
have-
saying select somebody, I'm
just
just saying,
get
I'll give you an
ballpark
idea
figure.
of what your plan's gonna cost. From a couple of reputable contractors that do this stuff all the time.
It's
And for
the
free.
only catch in it is the details. Because I mean, the committee, I can draw a floor plan, I have. But the details are what gets you on that, as far as cost goes. What kind of overhead door do you want? Does it have glass windows in it? Is it insulated? What kind of power openers are you going to put in here, and light switches, and all that kind of stuff goes into the cost. I don't, there's no general ballpark figure for that kind of stuff. That's where you almost have to have it.
There is, yeah.
well, it sounds like we need.
Well, we
a
have
floor
figures.
plan.
I mean, it's
And that's what we're working
$225 a square
We got
foot
one,
is
but
what
it's
everybody's saying
modified.
use.
It's modified.
As far as estimations go, I don't know what folks you're talking
No,
about.
it's, we're talking, Graber's who I talked to.
I've tried
but
calling
there's-
them, they won't even answer the phone.
Well, they was
to
happy
me.
to talk to me and for quite a while, and.
Take the drawing, go to them.
I-
Your
I'll-
drawing's good enough.
I'll happily go down there, I'll drive down there and do it.
He's brothers making it.
Yeah, I asked him where he was at with it.
That's
He's-
fine.
he's
I'm
just
not
gotta
trying to
do a
push
tech-
him. I
the-
mean-
All the drawings, he said he'll have, if you guys agree to this blueprint, he'll have everything but the architect's stamp.
No,
He
we
said
need,
there'd
we
be
need
full
that,
blueprints
Jeff.
done.
We need that part.
It's free.
I need that to
Yeah,
take
but I
the-
Well,
don't-
he's
I don't
working on it, because
wanna-
Neil just gave me
Yeah,
the-
I don't wanna push him. He's
Oh,
doing
he
it
don't
for
mind, he's
free.
working on it.
And it-
That's all in there.
Once we get that, we'll have a better idea, maybe a cost.
Then
of
somebody
bringing-
can throw prices at it.
And then
And
maybe,
now we got something where you say it's gonna be pretty close to this.
and that might be the time where then we can set a budget towards this, and this.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yes.
right now, we don't have a lot of numbers.
No.
Either the council can deny it if they wish, whatever you want to do, but the thing is, the council allocates money. You don't design things.
Right.
You don't design things. The commissioners
Yeah.
are the ones who take care of these things. We have a committee that's reporting.
And you don't spend
Now, if you
taxpayer
want-
dollars.
If you want anything else, then ask for some things, but the thing is, you allocate monies, the commissioners spend those monies toward that line item.
Right, but we
And we're
can't-
stepping a little bit outside. I
We
think,
can't
of-
allocate
Well, I
money
think-
if we don't know how much things are gonna cost.
I
We
think
can't give you a
then-
blank check.
Then that's fine, then just say you deny it, and we'll
Okay,
move on.
is there any action then on the $600,000 this evening? Nope, okay,
Quit playing commissioner.
so,
Quit playing council.
all right.
You
Sure.
you don't
I
have to
I-
answer to people for this spending, we do.
You allocate money, we spend the money.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
that's right.
So, do your job,
Well-
and if you don't want to do it, then that's.
The other
We
day,
are doing our
on this
job by
exact
being
topic-
responsible with the money that we appropriate. These are the taxpayers' finances.
And the commissioners are too. The commissioners
And
spend
so
money.
bring us the
accordingly
plan
way
and we
need
can
to.
approve some funds for it.
Listen, the other day, I don't know if you guys get all these emails or not, but I get bombarded with emails all the time from Indiana Association of Counties and things like that. And I got an email, and one of the things that the email said was, hey, if you want to know what your role is in this business as a council person, read this list of things that we think you should do. One of the things was make informed decisions to fund essential services. That was in our purview of things that we're supposed to do. The other was to collaborate with the county offices and county commissioners to identify long-term strategies for the county. I think this is a long-term strategy, EMS. So, I mean, I don't think it's outside our world to work with you guys to develop these things. It's not just approve money or not. That's not the only thing that we do. There's 5 or 6 things where we're supposed to work with other agencies, other branches of government to get the results that the taxpayers
I
expect.
agree with you, but what we have is council members going out and getting costs and going out and designing plans.
You
and
have 2
so
council
forth.
members on the committee doing this.
We have another one that's not.
Okay, but you basically said that they're on
And
the
the other
committee.
council members, the reason why we had them, at first, Neil wasn't on the council when he was first appointed to the position. We had a council member on here because we wanted to keep the council informed of where things were going along with this. This committee's been in works for over a year now. We've developed, or 2 plans have been developed, costs have been developed for 2 different plans. Those have been modified somewhat. We've looked at grants, we've looked at other things, but right now, we are in a position that we need to be moving forward. We need to have an idea of what schedule we're on. When are you going to be willing to appropriate monies? Is it now? If you have what? If you have an estimate, if you have line items, if it's already designed, at what point? We're shooting at a moving target every time that we come in that look at these things. And you want everything designed, and then you want council members that want to design it themselves.
I don't
And
care
that
about
is-
designing it myself. It wasn't
And
about that.
is where
I don't care who
it
designs
is a
it.
little bit frustrating for me. We're into next year pretty easily. I'm gone after this year. I'd like to have things at least pretty well settled come in December. So when the next commissioner, whoever it is, or commissioners come in next year, that they know where their plans are going to go. If we're pushing our design team, or our committee, if you will, to have those numbers available to us. There is need to be a seed money put it forward to it. If you want to wait another month, we can wait another month. Now we're into August.
We did that once and we appropriated money and it went towards architecture fees and we still don't have a usable plan. We have plans that we could buy from them still for an additional, I think, at least $50,000, but it's a 4,000 square foot building that we cannot afford. So that is why we were back to square one, and that's why we were asking for more information this time before we just blindly put some
Then
money into
deny
an
the
account.
600,000 is easy enough.
And it-
And then say
okay.
what additional information that you need, that's easy enough. Instead of having somebody going down to Grave or Post and doing something that they shouldn't be doing as a council member. So
Well, you
just
go do
deny
it,
it,
Brittany.
allocate monies that you wish to have, indicate what other information you wanted to have, and then we can supply that, or we can have our committee supply that. And then we can come forth with additional information. And that's just simple enough, but getting into all this other discussion isn't really.
So, in
Hmm.
essence, the commissioners will need to provide a quote or estimate or contract cost to design the new building. Now, I know it differs from Mr. Somerville's idea of how we should approach it, but being it's a public works building, there would need to be a design created, whether it be a post building or a structural steel, I don't care. But the thing is, we have to be able to give contractors something to bid, to price. Otherwise, we're providing numbers to the commissioners who say, well, it's not what we're after, and it's wasting time. So, do we have to appropriate the amount of money it would take to design the new ambulance building based off of the very simple line drawings that I created as an ambulance committee member and gave to Jeff's brother to put on AutoCAD? You know, what his brother comes up with is nice, don't get me
Sure.
wrong, but it's not something, I mean, as a council member, I can't take it and go sign a contract, that's the commissioner's job. But if that's not what they want, then they're not gonna go get a contract, so we're not gonna know what it costs.
Well, I would like to see the recommendation of the ambulance committee. If they come up with a plan and the commissioners, they take it to them, then we can go from there.
They would have to get a design fee associated with that building particularly, like.
What do you mean design fee?
If the committee says this is what it should look like and here's the floor plan, the commissioners, that's all they have, they would have to take that to an architect or someone or a
Right,
builder.
to sign
or-
off on it.
Yeah.
But it would save you, say, $50,000 or $80,000 by going to an architectural firm to do it.
40,
Say 40.
I'm
I'm just saying.
yeah,
Right now.
$40,000 from the day you start speaking with him till the building's finished, something like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
anybody else can make recommendations if we approve any money or not, but if there's no, to us tonight, this is what's on the table, is the 600,000.
Well, I'm gonna come back to, what kind of timeline are we working with? We working 2 years, or, I mean,
My timeline is, don't stop until it's done as fast as possible.
do
That's me.
we all agree on that?
I think we all agree we want it.
Mhm.
And we need to know a little more detail.
I mean, we are
It's the price.
currently working on
We
it.
don't have that much in.
Not for two single $1 million buildings, no. We don't have $2 million to put towards this.
So the ambulance committee can meet, final floor plan plus, well, there's two actually, and provide those to the commissioners, because the committee is a formation of the commissioners.
Yeah.
The committee doesn't exist on its own, we didn't create ourselves, they created it, they can abolish it tomorrow if they want, or keep it, or change people on it, like me. If there's too many council members on it, I'm willing to step down.
So, are we willing, I mean, where are we on a timeline? Marty says we continue march forward, but
I mean, everyone's
The
pretty
co-
much said,
The committee would
we
meet.
need it now, right?
Yes, but the committee will provide the commissioners with the ideal design per se, as far as arrangement, and then it's up to them to get a price on an architect fee to design the building for bid and provide us with that number that we would approve. That's how I'm seeing it.
Okay.
I don't know of any other way to do a public works
So one of
project.
the other things that's on my mind is you got the elections coming up and everything could change. So, I mean, everything we're doing here could be for naught if we don't get.
I think you guys will come up with something as fast as
In a
you've already
month. It'll be
met
next
and-
We've
council
been working
meeting.
on it for 2 years.
But I mean, you've got a lot more realistic data lately. You have input from Julie of what we need for this transition. You know, you have more of an idea of what the scope of it could be.
The committee was
I would
just
like
2
to see
years
where
old.
it goes in the next month and two. I
But the
mean,
committee wasn't working for 2 years on it. I mean,
Right.
we had taken a long layoff. When we got we hit the ground running, came up with a design. An architectural company looked at it, developed it, showed us what their version of
tweaked
our
it.
ideas were, and we looked at it, and we put it on the shelf, and there was no more discussion about it. That's how I see it.
Right.
At some point in time later, 6 months, a year, something, Commissioner Yoakum said there's a possibility to get a READY grant for this building. So we pulled it back off the shelf. It was too expensive. We went through a redesign, which was expensive in itself with the architect, and that was unsuccessful. That's where we're at as of recently. So this whole redesign of the floor plan and everything is new. It's not something we've been working on for 2 years. It's a new concept because we went from a grant to get a building and a $600,000 match, which is what the council pledged, to all of a sudden we need 2 stations tomorrow and we're going to have to pay for them ourselves type thing. I mean, that's kind of where we went. But I think if the committee says we'll give a floor plan of the newly designed station to the commissioners, and next month they can provide us with what they need to get this designed, or a quote from an architectural company to take it through bid and inspection of construction. And it's as fast as you can hire somebody. I mean, that's
We
the
have
simple
some
way to do it.
timeframes here. Perrysville is open-ended, so that can go on and on and on. But that is our first station that we were looking at building, was up in the northern part of the sector, which is North Moline. The second one, though, in the south, does have a 3-year time frame to it that started July 1st. So that was a hard number, not that the city of Clinton wouldn't continue to do something or that we don't have some other alternatives, but right now that's a 3-year time limit. So once that 3 years hits from July 1st of 2024 to July 1st, 2027, there needs for that crew to have a place to go. Maybe Clinton will open it up, but they did say it was short-term, and when they said short-term, they meant 3 years, which is long-term to me, but anyway, we do have a time frame.
Maybe set
So-
some hard deadlines. We could set that the 2 locations, lock down that those are going to be our 2 locations with the property owners, the school and the city of Fairview. Get the studies done on those properties so we know what's in the ground, what we have to do, if they got to be raised in elevation, stuff like that. That could be figured out in the next month, and it could be funded at the next meeting.
and that could be a good start
Yeah.
to get site work.
Now, so civil design of the sites, surveys, layouts, cuts and fills, everything you need to get that, utility connections, all that, that's around $15,000 per site by at least one company that I know who does, who can design all that. You know more about that than I do. But that is a start for as far as the civil plans go. It's around, but if one of them's going to be a grant, then everything that Christy Gerald mentioned as far as all the additional things we have to do up front, she had costs associated with those. They're well known what those costs are, so those numbers are known. So say by next council meeting, we would know, engineering fees to develop the site,
And if those
Ten
are,
aside.
since the grant is not until 2025, those are things that we can bring to the budget hearings in September and possibly budget for those kinds of expenses if we do plan to go for the grant. Because if those things need to be done, I don't know, maybe that's a timeline we need to get with her and find out when you have to have those done. Do we need to do them in 24, or do we wait till 25 to do them?
We need to start
So-
those now. It's kind of basically what she was telling us. We need to start them now.
If you want to.
She's already got those for us, and that's kind of what Brett, I'm just going to say, in my mind, we kind of got those numbers already from her. As you said, they're known because she's done them multiple times.
Britain got that from, was it John Connolly? He broke down that.
Well, Conley, yeah,
Yeah.
we have a breakdown of that one building.
Right.
Basically, it's a $600,000 building. So
Right.
if you want to decrease the footprint, the other costs are still there. So the 300,000 really isn't a good number. The 600, when you're said and done, when you add all the other site development, emergency generators, oxygen, the things that have to go into a building to make this an appropriate public use building, we're not going to be at 600,000. It's going to be more than that for a building. So, And that's including site development and other things as well. So we can't concentrate on just the floor
Yeah,
plan
it's just
itself.
not the building itself, it's the total package,
And
the
the other
big
thing,
picture.
and I think you made another good point, is that if we want to go for a grant on this, it needs to start now. The problem is that you just don't wait until January 1st to make a June 1st, or whatever date it was there, March 1st, submittal. It starts now to get that ready, to make that submittal, because there's a lot of effort that has to go
Timing.
into those things,
Well-
to make sure it is ready for submittal.
So
'Cause
she-
the less that you have available to them, the less chance you have of being able to be successful. And if we're not successful, then there is another time period in which you can be another 6 months later, that you can.
So Christie did
resubmit.
give you ideas of costs for
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Christie
did.
had a form that she gave us that itemized numbers as far as if you need to have an environmental study done, it costs this much. If you need a
She kinda gave us the
archaeological.
timeline along with that.
Yeah,
So is there additional cost into doing it with
Yes.
a grant that you
Yes.
wouldn't have if you just paid on your own? So what does that cost?
Yeah, what, I mean,
$50,000, $200,000? What's the difference?
do we pay
The thing
Christie if we
is-
don't get the grant?
I can't remember it might have been like $15,000 or $20,000 if you added it all up. Her fee wasn't, well, huh?
Yeah.
She takes 10%, typically
her fee.
10%. There's a $5,000
had
upfront fee, and then there's.
$60,000 flat
Besides
out.
her fees, is there other fees, other things that you have to get done because it's a grant? There's regulations and things. For example, CCM, the Community Crossings Grant. We get $2 million,
We have to
but-
do a salary study, I think that was part of,
Uh-huh.
there was that cost, and that was like $2,000 or something, $2,500 to do this.
Some type of geological survey had to be done because of the grant.
Historical.
We wouldn't
yeah,
have to
I
do
mean,
it if we didn't.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, I mean,
So that's something that you guys could get us the numbers together, discuss in the ambulance committee with the commissioners if they wanted to pursue the grant for the second building, and then bring us those estimated costs that we might be able to like do something with if that's the route we pursue. But like, until we know the exact amount, I mean,
well, I guess that's my question is, you know, the commissioners are asking for 600,000. From what we seen the other day, that 600,000 is gonna be chewed up into different sections, you know, maybe it's 300,000 for the building, but it's 100,000 for this cost and 50,000 for this one, and, you know, so I mean, it's all gonna add up to about 600,000. I think we have those numbers in front of us, and I guess that's what we can provide to you, if that's what you're wanting.
I would like some kind of
But that doesn't mean.
something to go from. There's no plan right now, and if we just put money in an account, it can be spent for anything at this point.
So I guess my question is, are you wanting that broke down and you're gonna appropriate one lump sum, or you're gonna appropriate a
Well, it's not just me, it
so-called
would be
budget?
everybody. But I
we
mean,
know
I
that.
think
Budget
everybody has
item.
asked kind of for more information where we have absolutely nothing right now.
That's right.
We don't have any
I'm not-
hard numbers, any like documents, nothing to show us like what it's going towards.
Not
I've
gonna
been
blindly
talking
approve
about it for
money
the last
anymore.
2 years to y'all, of what these costs are as we're going forward. The last one was 1.2 million,
And-
1.1 million, I guess it is, 600,000. And you can send it again. I just sent it 2 weeks ago of what the architect came up with. Now we know what the gold standard would be. Now, if you guys are saying we don't want that type of building, we want something else, so be it. But
I
the thing
don't-
is, we know an outside range of what these costs are gonna be.
And I don't think anyone has said, yeah, 1.2 million is gonna be feasible. I mean,
Well, then you have to tell us what is feasible then, I guess is where we're at.
I thought
Because
we
we
did
don't,
that.
we can keep developing plans, well, 300,000 is good, but 400,000 isn't. Where are we at?
I mean, the $600,000 has been the number tossed around that's the cash that we have available to do stuff with. So whether that's 2 buildings, or you find a grant for something, like that was the amount of money that we were willing to put towards this project when we were discussing ambulance facilities. Yeah, well, that was me matching grants, but we don't have grants. So right now we have the 600,000, but
A large amount of, or I think there's a huge, I guess, range of what one person may say, I can park that truck and sleep 2 employees in a building overnight for this much money. And then we have an architect that's been hired that says this facility is going to be $1.2 million. So we have a range of $300,000 to $1.2 million. And the $300,000 is a guess, really. I mean, I talk to people that say, yeah, sure, you can do that. And I tend to believe them because they build these things. But then again, I really don't know how it applies to what we're asking for. Does it apply? Can it apply? Is it the same kind of building, built to the same kind of standards, requirements? That's where I am not an expert. And so, I would like to think that $300,000 could build a building suitable to house.
Comparable to what we were using, a garage and a house.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that worked, and it was going to work for $150,000. It has worked, and we're doubling that. Can you do it? And if you say, yeah, you can do it, but then all of a sudden, if the commissioners say, well, that's not what we had in mind, that is the problem.
One of each.
Is that if the ideas of what to provide are 2 different things. So, is it going to be built with 2-by-6 walls, or is it going to be
Yes.
built with structural I-beams? I mean, there's a huge difference in cost on that kind of stuff. So, it all
How
blows.
much did Park County spend on theirs? And they had to
It
fire
was
these
like
buildings.
$1.5 million, but it was 6 bays and sleeps 8. It was a much different type of.
The building, which she said was like, it was either $5 something or $600,000 they paid for that building, but it's 2 stories.
They lost everything, so
Yeah.
they spent like $2 million for everything. I mean, trucks,
All
equipment,
your furnishings. all this
yeah,
And they have one
doorbell,
location.
you name it.
Yeah.
It's just one location for them.
Is this?
But Julie put input in with you guys, didn't she, on the design? It's like we're heading the right direction.
I think there's good progress being made. So, I look forward to hearing more from what you guys are able to.
I mean, at least all I'm trying to say is that the old-fashioned way to do these things would be you develop a floor plan, and then the floor plan is given to an architect, which that's happened once, and it didn't turn out, the numbers didn't turn out likable. But in theory, you have to have a set of drawings for people to make fair bids, so that contractor A, B, and C all can say, well, we'll tell you what we'll build it for, but they all have to know the exact same thing. For me to go to, I go to Morton and say, oh, we'll build you an ambulance station, it's $400,000, and if he goes to a different company and they say, well, we can build it for $150,000, I really don't know how the 2 compare.
All you guys gotta do is attach a scope of work to those plans.
But I can't create the scope.
Well, wouldn't be that hard.
But they want to know parameters of what we're wanting, and we said 600,000 for 2, or a grant, or 1, or we have 600,000 to work with, and that's what they wanted to know.
I mean, if they can tell me what they can provide, that's fine, but if it's me creating the scope of the whole thing, something's gonna get missed. There won't be any doorknobs or something on it, or I don't know, no windows, or I'll forget something.
Plugging.
I think we should be just as responsible with that grant money as we are with our own money.
I think
I
we
mean,
will
people
be.
act like grant money grows on trees, and it's killing this
Well,
country.
grant or no grant, I'm 100% in favor of building exactly what we need, what the public needs, and not anything more.
I think we all
Keep in
are.
mind, it also requires an architect or a professional engineer, and most likely an architect to sign off on these things. This is a public building, it's not, Joe goes down and says, okay, we're good to go. So these are public buildings, public funds, and they require certain professional requirements as well. And they have to agree with
I
whatever
think
we're building.
does the state review such plans for
They do.
fire marshal's office? Used to.
The requirement is that you have a set of plans.
I know that the building has to be built to Class 1 standards, based on information I've read from DHS, and that was because it was a building that employed at least one person. There was no other reason in Class 1 buildings that we would have to meet other than the fact that it would employ at least one person. Then the Class 1 requirements kick in. What does that mean? Well, I don't exactly know, but it's a little different than residential, I know that. So there are certain things that this building has to meet, being it's an employment place.
Were we meeting that before?
No,
Actually, okay.
Well, that's
but
what
we
have to do
didn't,
over here.
but we weren't providing that. I mean, it wasn't our responsibility, but no, they weren't. But-
Yes.
You know, it don't have to be gravers, but there's a lot of these companies that build commercial buildings every day.
Well, that's what he's saying, Morton.
Morton,
Yeah, and
Morton would be great.
You know, I'm not advocating for them. I don't know them. I
Well,
just
just
know.
look at this this budget right here. You got basically $100,000 for mobilization, project manager, superintendent, other expenses. Got $100,000 right there. The building, pre-engineered metal building, it's $153,000, but it's all this other that adds up.
Yeah, but
You know, and then-
like project manager, $45,000. Were we gonna have one? I mean,
Somebody's gonna have to do something. I mean, but every building I've ever been associated with, the high schools and with Duke Energy, and you're gonna have somebody that's gonna
These
oversee it.
companies already have their own project managers that handle these jobs and it'd be included in the bid.
This is also the cost for 4,200 square feet.
Right. I won't disagree.
saying.
They have them, but you pay for them. Nothing's free.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
first
it
rule
ain't,
of
but it
accounting.
ain't that much.
There's no free lunch. You're paying for it one way or the
Well, it's
other.
not $40,000 or whatever.
so you have a manager and a superintendent, so there's 90 grand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's what it says.
I mean, the 600,000,
I don't care what it says, I don't have to agree with it.
I just want to keep this thing moving forward, and right now, I don't see it moving forward. I
Well,
see it going back and forth like a tennis match.
2 bays
Yeah.
at 1,600 square feet is.
So I guess what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
don't get this preconceived idea that we're gonna build this thing for $300,000, because I don't think you're gonna get it done for $300,000.
Well, we don't have any idea what it's gonna cost. That's the whole issue here.
That's what I agree. So when we come back in next month with a budget.
We have an idea what this one's gonna cost.
Right.
Because-
There's a benchmark, okay, a
That's the
milestone.
benchmark.
So
That's the gold
now-
standard.
Now look at that, I mean,
Yeah.
we can develop another plan, but the thing is, we've got a benchmark here that you look, that's already been provided some time ago, it's not just tonight. And it's a good number. So if we don't want things, or if we can't afford this, then just say, no, we can't afford whatever this $1.1 million project.
What's the commissioner's view on, and I know at the committee meeting at Dana the other night, you'd made the mention that you would prefer this be a steel structure.
Pre-engineered.
Pre-engineered metal building, which is not structural steel, it's a formed metal structural columns, things like that, versus something timber, whether that be post or just
Well,
regular
I think somebody
construction.
said something about stick built. Stick built's fine, but I don't want a pole barn though. The pole barn, I think Conley indicated that it'll last 40 years, but I have not seen pole barns really last 40 years under weather and under good conditions, or under bad conditions anyway.
Well,
Or a
they
20-year
do
structure.
have some ways they have foundations for them, they have steel embeds that the posts attached to. There's
Well,
ways
my
to,
place was
50,
built.
60 years is probably
It
not
wasn't
out of the
Holborn.
question, but that's regardless rather.
I
I
would
mean,
prefer it to be a pre-engineered building. They have a lot better structure to hold up against inclement weather, and they have a tendency to last to 50, 60 plus years.
yeah, so when we go down this list of things, when you look at things like the well and the pump, well, if it's city water, we're not going to have that $8,000 expense. If you're not going to have septic, sewer line, septic tanks, there's $20,000. Various different things, radio tower by others, okay. Generator, $80,000 for a backup generator. I'm reading.
I know, I'm just laughing.
And that's based on the kilowatts that they provide, but if you have just a generator sized enough to turn the lights on and open the doors,
Well, I think-
then that's 10,000,
I
not
think
80.
something
so-
like this is what we need, but something that's probably not $1 million a building.
Exactly.
I mean, for 2
Well,
people
then
and one
you have to
ambulance
have-
with a possible backup truck in the future or something, $1 million is a lot of money.
So if we give you something, for me too, so I can approve it. if we as an ambulance committee can provide the council with something similar to this, this is what we're wanting. Is that what we're saying?
Possibly,
Yeah.
but, I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't do that. I can't put numbers to that. I have no idea what these, how to create.
Well, I'm gonna say it's a little difficult.
But I'm saying you have to come up with a plan first before you can even get to that point. So right now, come up with a plan and let's go from there.
Okay.
I agree.
A design
absolutely.
layout.
But we know what the money is.
Well, what I'm saying is,
Do we?
I think they're gonna be
All we have
estimates.
right now is 600,000.
Basically.
If you can get the grant. that's-
So, let's say,
No, floor plans,
What
all she's
can we get
asking.
for 600,000?
Yeah,
All
just
we
a floor
have.
plan.
Just
We
the-
need a floor
like
plan to
we
start
did.
with.
And
You
like-
just want a floor plan.
We need a floor plan so that way then,
It
if
doesn't
it's
matter.
agreeable, then we can go on to the
Just
process
because
of
it's not
getting
in
costs.
cash
Okay,
doesn't mean
so we're
that
already
we
working
don't
on the
build
floor
a
Yeah, we'll
plan.
have-
$500 million
That's what I said. I think you guys are
We
making
just
good
built a
progress. We
$28
just
million building. We
aren't
didn't
to the
have
I'll
point
have
of
the,
saying
I think we'll
dollar
also
amount.
have elevation drawings that show all four sides to give you an idea of what it's gonna look like as well. And,
Yeah.
but plumbing drawings, HVAC, duct routing, that we
We're
won't
gonna
have
have
We
that.
won't need all that.
And I'm not gonna have any quantities. I'm not gonna be able to say that I need X many cubic
No.
yards of concrete. I won't know any of that. That has to be designed by whoever, however.
But those are going to be real costs.
Yes. The
Which-
other side of
which
the
will-
equation is what Commissioner stated was like legal fees, stuff. I have no idea.
We just have to use what she kinda gave us a little bit for the grants.
Well, I mean, like
Best that we
acquiring the
can.
property or surveying or things that, if they say it's too low on this end, it needs 2 feet higher over here. That's all costs that I have no idea on these sites yet until we're told what those numbers are. And then the only way to know, if you have to go in and take equipment and haul dirt in to level a site, I mean, you have to get prices from contractors for that. I mean, I can
And that's what he
estimate it.
did for that site at Perrysville.
This was, yeah, that was the way, the redesign was,
Because that was a low spot.
Right,
It cost too
right.
much to develop.
the redesign, the second go-around, and the only reason we pulled those plans off the shelf and hacked them up smaller was because we tried to get the price down for ready grant favorability. Didn't work. Well, didn't work because of that, but it just wasn't gonna work anyway. But I think these numbers are based off the flat site at the Newport, or at the North Vermillion location.
It was the Hicks property.
Okay, so there's none of that civil site work on here that was super expensive that was on the first one. All
I
right.
think he did provide an estimate on the Vermillion side, North Vermillion side. I don't think it's on the
That's
sheet,
okay.
Is it? I don't know what you.
But, as far as working out, like, how do you obtain the land, what kind of acquisition is it? Especially with town of Fairview Park, that is municipal property that's, the town has, and they're willing to, locate the ambulance there. What does that look like? Is it a 100-year lease? Is it a
Right.
purchase? I don't know.
And that will be with the commissioners, and so
Yeah.
once they work that arrangement out, or whoever they want, like, whatever they decide on that, that'll be another, they could bring back to us if there's cost.
There's a cost, there'll be legal fees and whatnot, I assume.
We do have a couple more things, so is there anything else then tonight regarding the ambulance, or are we able to move on? Anything else? Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the reduction of additional appropriation. This reduction is in the amount of the total reduction is $55,000. Okay, because that's the total after reduction.
Yeah.
Is $55,000. We did take some of that out for things that we had to provide for the ambulance service, furnishings, medical supplies, utilities, and the $50,000 for the Perrysville Fire Department. So that left our appropriation at $55,000 that's sitting in that account that we're not using. As far as the rent for Clinton City, that was discussed. The commissioners did agree to a rental agreement with the Clinton City Fire Department at $1,500 a month. I believe they found money in their current rent account to pay that. Is that correct? And is there enough in that for the whole year? Okay, so they do not need any additional. Okay, so we can leave this reduction at $55,000. This basically essentially takes the $55,000 out of their line item and puts it back into certified shares, because it's not being used for the purchases of anything right now.
So I'll make a motion that we approve this.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mr. Weir and a second from Ms. Brown to approve the reduction of appropriation of $55,000 in certified shares in capital outlays. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. The reduction is approved. All right, and we have no old business. And the new business, we have our compliance with statement of benefits of personal property. We have 2 of those this evening. We have one for International Paper and one for Pyrolix Recycling LLC. The first one is the International Paper. These are the abatements they received for their personal property. You have a form, and then you have the actual form when they applied for it. International Paper, the assessed values and the cost of it are below what they had projected. However, their projected completion date isn't until 6/30/2025, so they're still within their completion date of getting that there. So this evening, if you'll review those, we just need to approve their compliance forms. So we can do them individually or we can do them together. The Pyrolix Tire Recycling is also there. They have submitted the same forms. Their actual additional amount of salaries is actually well above what they projected their increase to be, so. If there's any questions, if not, I'll need a motion to approve these compliance with statement of benefits for personal properties. And again, we can either do them together or separate, whichever your preference.
I can make a motion.
To approve one or both?
Both.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Brown, a second from Mr. Boats to approve the compliance with statement of benefits of personal property for International Paper and Pyrolix Tire Recycling. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. All right, they are approved. All right, public comment. I think we're out of people. So, no public comment this evening. Any other comments before we adjourn?
Ran everyone off.
We did. So, all right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion.
In a second?
I'll second.
All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.